The stars looked different here. Commander stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and studied the view screen with careful eyes. The experimental jump drive had worked, but they were far from home. Very far. His crew had been the first to test the new technology, and now they floated in unknown space. "Captain, I'm picking up something," said from the navigation station. His fingers moved quickly across the controls. "There's a large structure ahead. It looks like a space station." Nodded slowly. "Can you identify it?" "No, sir. It's not in any of our databases. The design is completely unknown." This was what they had hoped for. First contact with alien life. Felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his voice calm. "Prepare a greeting message. Use all standard frequencies." The communications officer began working immediately. "Yes, sir. Broadcasting now in multiple formats." On the alien station, alarms were screaming. Admiral of the Empire stared at his screens with confusion turning to anger. A ship had appeared from nowhere. Not through the standard jump points. Not through any known method. It simply materialized in restricted space. "What is that vessel?" demanded. His scaled skin turned a darker shade of blue, a sign of agitation among his people. "Unknown, Admiral," replied his sensor operator. "The computer cannot identify the ship class. The power readings are strange, very strange." "Are they responding to our hails?" "No, Admiral. They sent something on primitive radio waves, but it's not in any known language." Eyes narrowed. For 3,000 years, the Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy. Every species knew the language. Every species followed law. This ship was either incredibly ignorant or dangerously arrogant. "Send 3 corvettes to intercept. If they do not respond properly, disable their engines." Back on the Indomitable, watched her weapons console with growing concern. She was the chief weapons officer, and her sensors showed 3 small ships leaving the station. They were moving fast and their weapons were charging. "Captain, we have incoming vessels. They're arming weapons." Frown, this was not the peaceful first contact they had planned. "Raise shields, but do not target them. We're here in peace." "Shields up, Captain," confirmed from the security station. The 3 corvettes surrounded the human ship. Inside the lead corvette, Commander felt confident. His ships had destroyed pirates, rebels, and countless enemies of the Empire. This strange vessel would be no different. "Fire a warning shot across their bow," ordered. A beam of concentrated energy shot through space and struck the Indomitable's shields. The bridge crew felt a slight vibration, nothing more. Looked at his shield display. The reading had barely moved. "Their weapons are weak," said, surprise clear in his voice. "That was a direct hit, but our shields absorbed it at 0.03% capacity." Looked up from her station. "Captain, they're hailing us. I think I've got enough of their language decoded. They're demanding we surrender." "Surrender?" Felt a flash of anger. They had come in peace, sent greetings, and been attacked. "Tell them we will not surrender. We are peaceful explorers. We mean no harm." But the message never reached the ships in a form they understood, or saw only silence and those impossibly strong shields. He made his decision. All ships open fire, full power. Energy beams and missiles filled the space around the Indomitable. The crews watched their most powerful weapons strike the alien ship. They expected to see shields fail, armor melt, systems explode. Instead, they saw nothing. The human ship sat there, completely undamaged. The shields hadn't even flickered. On the Indomitable's bridge spoke quietly. "Captain, they're using everything they have. Our shields are at 99.97%. Should I return fire?" Thought quickly. They were in unknown territory, outnumbered and far from any help, but he would not let his ship and crew be destroyed. "Fire warning shots only. Target the space near their ships. Show them we can defend ourselves." His hands moved with practiced skill. "Yes, sir," firing 1 round. A single projectile left the Indomitable at a significant fraction of light speed. It was a small piece of dense metal, accelerated to incredible velocity. The round passed between 2 of the corvettes, missing them by just a few meters, but the kinetic energy it carried created a shockwave that ripped through both ships. Or's corvette tumbled through space, all systems offline. The second corvette was cut completely in half. Only the quick work of emergency bulkheads saved some of the crew. The third corvette's captain made the decision of his life. He turned his ship and ran at maximum speed. Back at the station, Admiral watched in horror. His 3 corvettes had been destroyed or disabled by a single shot that had not even directly hit them. The unknown ship had not used missiles or energy weapons. It had thrown a piece of metal, and that alone had been enough. "Get me a secure channel to the Imperial Throne World," said, his voice shaking slightly. "Priority 1. Mark it as an extinction-level threat." The communication officer looked at his admiral with wide eyes. Extinction-level threats were reserved for the worst possible scenarios: stellar collapse, reality-breaking weapons, the return of the ancient enemy from legend. "Sir, are you certain?" "Look at that ship," pointed at the screen showing the Indomitable. "It destroyed our vessels without effort. It has technology we cannot understand, and we fired first if they decide to retaliate." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. On the Indomitable watched the damaged alien ships. He felt no satisfaction, only sadness. First contact had become first combat. He had hoped for so much more. "Keep trying to establish communication. Send every peaceful symbol we have. Mathematical sequences, scientific constants, anything universal." "Yes, sir." "Plot a course away from the station. Slow speed. We're not running, but we're giving them space." "Course plotted, Captain." "What's the status of those damaged ships?" "Studied his sensors. Life signs detected on both disabled vessels, Captain. Their life support seems stable." "Nodded. At least he hadn't killed anyone. Monitor them. If their life support fails, we help them. Understood?" "Understood, sir." The Indomitable slowly moved away from the station, its shield still raised, its weapons ready but not targeting anyone. Inside the ship, the crew was quiet. They had come to explore and make friends. Instead, they had made a very dangerous enemy, an enemy that now knew humans existed and knew that humans were far more powerful than they had expected. In his ready room recorded a message to be sent back to Earth if they ever made it home. First contact achieved. Result: hostile. Unknown alien empire attacked without provocation. Their technology is significantly behind ours. We disabled their vessels with minimal force. Now attempting peaceful communication. Requesting guidance and support. Out. He looked out at the alien station in the distance. Somewhere in that massive structure, decisions were being made. Decisions that would affect not just this encounter, but potentially the entire future of humanity among the stars. He could only hope those decisions would be wise ones. The Imperial Throne World was a planet of crystal spires and floating gardens. For 3,000 years, it had been the center of power. Emperor On sat on his throne of living metal, reading the report from Admiral with growing disbelief. "This cannot be accurate," the Emperor said. His voice echoed in the massive throne room. "3 corvettes destroyed by 1 ship. Impossible." Grand Admiral stood before the throne. He was old for his scales turned silver with age, but his eyes were still sharp. "I have reviewed the sensor data myself, Your Majesty. It is accurate. The unknown vessel possesses shields far beyond our technology. Their weapon was a simple kinetic projectile, but the velocity was extraordinary. So we have encountered a new species with superior technology." The Emperor's claws tapped against his throne. "What do you recommend?" Straightened. "I recommend we assemble a battle fleet, 50 ships. We will surround this vessel and force its surrender. Once we capture it, our scientists can study their technology." The Emperor nodded slowly. "Make it so, but do not destroy the ship. We need it intact." "As you command, Your Majesty." On the Indomitable had been working for hours without rest. She had collected enough transmissions from the alien station to begin understanding their language. It was complex, but not impossible. The breakthrough came when she realized they used a mathematical base 16 system in their computer codes. "Captain, I've got something," called out excitedly. "I can understand about 40% of their language now, enough to communicate basic concepts." Came to her station immediately. "Excellent work. Can you send them a message?" "Yes, sir. What should I say?" Thought carefully. Every word mattered now. "Tell them we come in peace. The attack on our vessel was unprovoked. We seek dialogue." Fingers flew over her keyboard, translating the words into the alien language as best she could. The message was sent. At the border station, Admiral received the message. He read it 3 times, his confusion growing. The unknown species was asking for peace, after demonstrating such overwhelming power. In his experience, the strong did not ask. They demanded. "They are trying to deceive us," decided. "They want us to lower our guard. Do not respond. Grand Admiral arrives within the hour." Fleet emerged from hyperspace in a carefully coordinated formation. 50 warships, ranging from fast destroyers to massive battlecruisers. They moved to surround the lone human vessel. It was the largest show of force the Empire had deployed in decades. On the Indomitable, alarms sounded throughout the ship. "Captain, we have multiple contacts." His voice was tense. 50 ships, all military grade. They're surrounding us." Felt his stomach tighten, but his voice remained steady. "Battle stations. All hands to combat positions. Shields to maximum, but hold fire unless fired upon." Throughout the ship, the crew moved quickly to their positions. Ran final checks on all weapon systems. Coordinated the security teams. In engineering, the crew made sure the reactors could provide full power to shields and weapons. Opened a communication channel. His face appeared on the Indomitable's main screen. He looked like a large reptile with blue scales and yellow eyes. When he spoke, his translation program converted his words to English. Unknown vessel, you are surrounded. Your shields will not protect you from 50 ships. Surrender immediately. You will become subjects of the Empire. Refuse, and we will disable your ship and take it by force. Stepped forward so the alien could see him. I am commander of the human vessel Indomitable. We are explorers from a distant star system. We did not know of your empire. We came in peace. Your ships fired on us without warning. We defended ourselves with minimal force. We do not wish to fight you. Eyes narrowed as he studied the human. You speak our language now. Good. Then you understand when I say this, surrender or be destroyed. You have 1 minute to decide. The communication ended. Looked at his crew. They looked back at him with trust and determination. Send this message, we will not surrender. We are a sovereign species, but we still offer peace and friendship. The message was sent. For a long moment nothing happened, then gave the order. All ships fire at will, disable their engines and weapons. The space around the Indomitable lit up like a small star. 50 warships fired everything they had. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, kinetic missiles, and exotic weapons that bent space itself. It was enough firepower to level a city, enough to crack a moon. It all struck the human ship at once. The Indomitable's shields blazed with light as they absorbed the incredible energy. Inside the ship, the crew felt the vessel shake, but no alarm sounded. Checked his displays and reported calmly. Captain, shields holding at 97%. Minor fluctuations only. No damage to the ship. Watched in disbelief. His entire fleet had fired at once. The unknown vessel should have been debris. Instead, its shields had barely dimmed. He looked at his own shield display and realized with growing horror that the energy his fleet had just expended had lowered his ship's shields more than it had affected the enemy. Impossible, he whispered. How is this possible? Turn 2, Captain, permission to return fire. Thought about the 50 ships around them. 50 ships full of living beings, beings who were just following orders. Target their engines only. Minimum force necessary. We're not here to kill anyone. Understood, sir. The Indomitable began to move. It was not running away. It was dancing. The human ship spun and weaved through the formation with impossible grace. Its advanced sensors predicted every shot before it was fired. Its engines provided thrust that made the alien ships look like they were standing still. Fired precisely. Each shot from the Indomitable struck a ship's engine section. The projectiles punched through shields and armor like they were made of paper. One after another, the vessels lost power and began to drift. 5 ships disabled. 10, 20. The fleet tried to adjust their tactics, tried to predict the human ship's movements. Nothing worked. 30 ships down. 40. Watched his fleet being systematically dismantled, not destroyed. The human ship could have killed them all easily. Instead, it was carefully disabling each vessel without causing casualties. The precision was terrifying. It showed absolute control, absolute superiority. All ships retreat, ordered. Emergency jump now. The remaining 15 ships engaged their hyperspace drives and fled. 35 disabled vessels drifted in space, their crews alive but helpless. The Indomitable stopped moving and held position. Spoke quietly. Send a message to those disabled ships. Tell them we will not harm them. Tell them rescue ships can retrieve them safely. We will not interfere. Yes, sir. Was checking casualty reports from the damaged ships. Captain, I'm reading life signs on all disabled vessels. Their emergency systems are functioning. No deaths reported. Good. Felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. Maintain defensive position. Be ready for anything. His flagship jumped back to the throne world. He went immediately to the Emperor's palace, not even stopping to clean himself or change his uniform. He entered the throne room and knelt. Your Majesty, I have failed. The fleet was defeated. Emperor unstood from his throne. Defeated. 50 ships could not destroy one vessel. They disabled 35 of our ships in 20 minutes. They could have destroyed us all, but they chose not to. Your Majesty, their technology is not just superior. It is generations beyond ours, maybe centuries. We are to them what primitive species are to us. The throne room was silent. Every advisor, every courtier stood frozen. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Empire had encountered something they could not conquer, something they could not even fight. The Emperor sat back down heavily. If they are so powerful, why have they not attacked our worlds? Why do they remain at the border? I do not know, Your Majesty. They keep saying they come in peace. They keep asking for dialogue. Perhaps, said a quiet voice, they are telling the truth. Everyone turned to look at Ra. She was young for her position, known for her unconventional ideas. Perhaps they truly do not want war. Perhaps they are peaceful. Or perhaps, the Emperor said darkly, they are waiting for reinforcements before they invade. As if in answer to his words, new reports began arriving. More unknown vessels had appeared at different points along the Empire's border. Not hundreds, not thousands, but enough. Enough to show that the lone ship was not alone. The Empire had encountered humanity, and the Empire was beginning to panic. The Emergency Imperial War Council met in a secure chamber deep beneath the palace. Emperor On sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by his most trusted advisors and military commanders. The mood was dark. "Show me the map," the Emperor commanded. A holographic display activated, showing the borders of the Empire. Red markers appeared at 7 different locations. 7 human ships spread along 1,000 light-years of space. Hyena pointed at each marker. These vessels appeared over the past 6 hours, all using the same unknown jump technology, all in restricted space, all broadcasting the same message: they come in peace. Her voice was heavy with sarcasm. "They are positioning themselves for invasion," Grand Admiral said firmly. "These are not explorers. This is a scouting force." Emperor undrummed his claws on the table. "What are our options?" I activated 3 new displays. Option 1, negotiate, accept their claims of peace and open dialogue. Risk, they may be deceiving us to lower our defenses. Option 2, prepare for total war. Mobilize every ship, fortify every world, prepare for a conflict that could last years. Risk, we drain our economy and may still lose. Option 3, seek allies. Contact other major powers and form a coalition against this new threat. Risk, we show weakness. "There is a 4th option," said Ra. "We could accept that we have met an equal or superior power and adapt accordingly." Several advisors hissed in anger at her words. The Emperor raised a hand for silence. "Explain." "The Empire has ruled through military strength for 3,000 years, but these humans have shown they are stronger. If we fight them, we will lose, but they have not attacked our worlds. They have not killed our people when they easily could have. Every message they send asks for peace. Perhaps we should listen." "And become their subjects." Voice was cold. "I would rather die fighting." On the Indomitable, a second human ship had arrived. The Resolute was slightly smaller than its vessel but just as advanced. Its captain appeared on the communication screen. "Earth Command sent me to provide support. They're worried about you," smiled. "Looks like you started a war." "I tried to avoid one," replied tiredly, "but they fired first, twice. I've been reviewing your reports. These seem aggressive. They're an empire. They probably haven't encountered anyone who could fight back in a long time." The science officer had been analyzing all the data they had collected about the Empire. She called both captains to a video conference. "I've found something interesting. The Empire controls over 200 star systems, but only 30 of those systems are actually. The rest are conquered species, kept under control through military force. Leaned forward, so they rule through fear." "Exactly. And now that fear is breaking down. I've intercepted communications from several of their subject worlds. They're hearing about what happened to the fleet. Some are starting to question whether the Empire is really invincible." Nodded slowly. "If the Empire starts to look weak, they'll have rebellions. That might make them even more dangerous. A wounded animal fights hardest." Or, said thoughtfully, "it might make them more willing to talk. What do you know about their military capabilities?" "They have approximately 3,000 warships scattered across their territory. Most are older designs. They focus on quantity over quality. Their ships are the ones that attacked you, and we've seen how effective those were." "Could we defeat their entire fleet?" asked. "Yes," said simply. 10 human ships could probably handle their entire military, but that's not the question we should be asking." "What should we be asking?" "Should we defeat their entire fleet? We came here to explore and make friends, not conquer." Smiled slightly. "You're right, but maybe we need to show them just how outmatched they are. Not to threaten them, but to make them understand that fighting is pointless. Make them come to the negotiating table seriously." "What do you have in mind?" Pulled up a star map. "They have a weapons testing facility here in the system. It's automated, no crew. They test new ships and weapons there. I propose we destroy it." "That would be seen as an act of war," said carefully. "We're already at war whether we like it or not. They've attacked us twice. But this way we choose the target. We show our capabilities on our terms, and no one gets hurt." On the throne world, the debate continued. Finally, Emperor On made his decision. "We will prepare for war, but we will also send a diplomatic message. We will offer these humans a chance to leave our space peacefully. If they refuse or attack, we respond with overwhelming force. Your Majesty, Na said, with respect, they have already shown that our overwhelming force is not overwhelming to them. Then what would you have me do? Surrender without a fight? I would have you be realistic about our situation. The argument was interrupted by an urgent message. An aide rushed into the chamber. Your Majesty, the testing facility, something has happened. Holographic display changed to show the system. Where the massive weapons facility had been, there was now only debris. The aide played back the sensor recordings. 2 human ships had appeared at the edge of the system. They had not approached the facility. Instead, they had fired from 100,000 kilometers away. Multiple projectiles, moving at impossible speeds, had struck the facility and torn it apart. The entire attack had taken less than 30 seconds. They destroyed our most advanced testing facility, said quietly, from further away than any of our weapons can accurately shoot, and they did it to send a message. A new transmission began broadcasting on all Imperial frequencies. It showed Commander speaking. Thanks to his translation work, it was imperfect. People of the Empire, I am Commander of Earth. We are humans. We came to your space by accident seeking peaceful first contact. Your military attacked us without provocation. We defended ourselves without taking lives. We have just destroyed your weapons facility to prove a point. We do not want your territory. We do not want to rule you. We want peace. But make no mistake, if you continue to attack us, we will defend ourselves, and you cannot win this fight. No one needs to die. No worlds need to burn. Let us meet. Let us talk. Let us find a better way forward together. The transmission ended. The council chamber was silent. He is right, Ra said softly. We cannot win this fight. Emperor On sat very still. Everything he had believed about superiority was crumbling, but he was not a fool. He could see the truth even when he did not like it. How many of our subject species have heard this message? He asked. All of them, Your Majesty, an aide replied. It was broadcast on every channel. We cannot stop it. Already we are receiving reports of unrest on 3 colony worlds. The Emperor understood immediately. The subject species had been kept in line through fear of military power. Now they knew that power had limits. If the Empire appeared weak, everything would fall apart. But if they kept fighting the humans, they would lose anyway. I spoke carefully. Your Majesty, perhaps there is another way to look at this. If we negotiate with these humans as equals, we show wisdom, not weakness. If we form an alliance with them, we gain access to their technology. We could transform the Empire into something greater than it has ever been. And what of our reputation? 3,000 years of military dominance, gone in a day. Reputation can be rebuilt. Dead soldiers cannot. The Emperor closed his eyes. He thought of all the warriors who would die if this war continued. He thought of the subject species who would rebel. He thought of the Empire crumbling into chaos. And he thought of the human commander who had destroyed a facility but taken no lives, who had disabled ships but killed no crew, who kept asking for peace even after being attacked. Send a message to these humans, the Emperor said at last. Invite them to the throne world. We will negotiate, as equals. The words felt like poison in his mouth, but they were the right words, the necessary words. Nabod, a wise decision, Your Majesty. Perhaps the first step toward our downfall. Time will tell. When received the invitation, he felt relief wash over him. Prepare a diplomatic team. We're going to meet the Emperor. Is it safe? Asked. This could be a trap. It could be, agreed. But it's also our best chance for peace. Besides, I don't think they want to risk having a human ship in orbit over their capital world. Not after what we just demonstrated. When do we leave? As soon as Earth Command sends an ambassador. This is too important for a military commander to handle alone. 3 days later, a new ship arrived. It was sleek and white, marked with the symbols of Earth's diplomatic corps. Ambassador Sora had arrived, and with her came the hope of peace. Ambassador Sora was not what they expected. She was small, barely reaching shoulder, with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen many years. But when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of authority. Commander, Captain, thank you for your service. Earth Command is proud of how you handled this situation. Now let me do my part. She smiled gently. I've been making first contact with alien species for 20 years. This is what I do. Her ship, the Harmony, was accompanied by 3 other vessels. Not warships, but medical ships and supply vessels loaded with humanitarian aid. When the sensors detected their approach to the throne world, confusion spread through the Imperial Navy. They are bringing gifts, Admiral read the manifest with disbelief. Medical supplies, agricultural equipment, water purification systems. Perhaps it is a trick, suggested one of his officers. Or perhaps, said slowly, they truly do want peace. The human diplomatic fleet took up orbit above the throne world. Sara, and a small team prepared to take a shuttle down to the surface, insisted on coming as security. Ambassador, no offense, but you need protection, said firmly. I understand your concern, but weapons at a peace conference send the wrong message. Then I'll come unarmed, but I'm coming. Sora smiled. Very well. The Imperial Palace was magnificent. Crystal spires reached into the clouds, and gardens filled with alien plants floated on anti-gravity platforms. The human delegation was escorted through massive halls to a conference chamber. Emperor On sat at the head of a long table with his advisors around him. Sora bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. Emperor On, thank you for this meeting. I'm Ambassador Sora of Earth. We come in peace and friendship. The Emperor studied her carefully. You speak our language well. We have excellent linguists, and we've had time to study your communications. You destroyed our weapons facility. We disabled an automated testing station to prevent further misunderstanding about our capabilities. No one was hurt. Emperor On gestured to the seats across from him. Sit, let us discuss terms. The negotiations began. Sora presented Earth's position clearly. We ask for three things. First, mutual recognition of sovereignty. Neither side claims authority over the other. Second, open borders for peaceful travel and trade. Third, freedom for the species currently under Imperial control. The last point caused immediate uproar. Grand Admiral stood angrily. You demand we surrender our empire. I demand you free enslaved people, Sora said calmly. There is a difference. Those species need our guidance and protection. From what I have learned, they need protection from you. The Emperor raised a hand for silence. Ambassador, you ask us to dismantle everything we have built over 3,000 years. I ask you to transform it into something better. Your empire can still exist, but as a voluntary federation rather than a forced occupation. And if we refuse? Sora met his eyes steadily. Then we will support those species who wish for independence. We will provide them with the means to defend themselves. The age of conquest is over, Emperor, not because we decree it, but because the galaxy has changed. Ra spoke up. Ambassador Sora, what does Earth offer in return for these demands? Technology. We have medical advances that can extend and cure diseases you consider incurable. We have agricultural techniques that can turn barren worlds into gardens. We have energy systems that are cleaner and more efficient. We have much to share. You would share such things freely. In exchange for peace and cooperation, yes. We believe the galaxy is better when we all work together. The Emperor stood and walked to a window overlooking his capital city. I must consult with my advisors. We will reconvene tomorrow. That night, Ra requested a private meeting with Sora. They met in a quiet garden, away from listening devices. They spoke quickly. Ambassador, there is something you must know. The Empire is not as strong as it appears. We have been in economic decline for decades. Military spending has drained our resources. Many of our people are tired of endless wars. Why are you telling me this? Because there are those in the Imperial Court who see your arrival as an opportunity, not for war but for change. But there are also those who will fight any change. They may try to stop these negotiations by force. You think there will be an attack? I think you should be careful. Sora thanked her and reported the warning to double the security around the delegation and have the fleet ready to move quickly if needed. The next day, negotiations resumed. The talks went more smoothly than expected. Na had convinced the Emperor that cooperation was the best path forward. They were discussing the details of a technology exchange when alarms suddenly blared throughout the palace. What is happening? Sora demanded. A guard rushed into the room. Your Majesty, 3 battleships have broken formation. They are heading toward the palace. On the tactical display, the situation became clear. 3 of the Empire's heaviest warships, commanded by military officers, were accelerating toward the capital. They were broadcasting a message. The Emperor has betrayed the Empire by negotiating with invaders. We will defend honor. Surrender the humans or we will fire on the palace. Was already on his communicator. Harmony, this is 3 hostile ships inbound. Get our fleet between them and the palace, now. The human ships moved with incredible speed. Within seconds, they had positioned themselves between the rebel battleships and the throne world. Turned to the Emperor. Your Majesty, give me command of your loyal ships. Let us handle this together. Emperor unhesitated only a moment. Do it. Commander has command of all Imperial forces in this system. The rebel battleships opened fire on the human vessels. The Indomitable and its sister ships absorbed the attacks easily, but did not return fire immediately. Open a channel to those ships. Channel open, sir. Rebel ships, this is Commander. Stand down immediately. Your Emperor lives. These negotiations are his will, not ours. You are attacking your own leader. The Emperor is a fool, came the angry reply. We will not serve aliens. Watched her tactical display. The rebel ships were moving closer to the palace. If they got through, thousands of civilians would die. Captain, we need to stop them. Agreed, but I want prisoners, not bodies. Target their bridges with EMP pulses. Knock out their command systems. The human ships fired precisely. Electromagnetic pulse weapons, carefully calibrated, struck the bridges of all three rebel battleships. The ships went dark, all systems offline, but the crews were unharmed. The vessels drifted helplessly. But this was not the end. Loyal Imperial ships moved in, their commanders uncertain. Would they have to fight their own comrades? Instead, coordinated a joint operation. Human ships disabled engines. Ships deployed boarding teams. Within an hour, the rebel commanders were in custody. In the conference chamber, Emperor On watched everything unfold. When it was over, he turned to Sora. Your commander saved my life and my throne. He could have destroyed those ships. Instead, he preserved them and their crews. He showed mercy to those who sought to kill him. That is who we are, Sora said simply. We believe in second chances. The Emperor sat down heavily. I have spent 3,000 years believing that strength meant domination, that power meant conquest. You have shown me I was wrong. True strength is in restraint. True power is in mercy. He turned to his advisors. Ra was right. The age of the old empire is over. Let us build something new. Grand Admiral, who had witnessed everything, nodded slowly. I fought these humans twice. I lost twice. But today they fought beside us. Perhaps there is wisdom in friendship. Negotiations resumed with new energy. The rebels had failed, and in failing, they had shown everyone what the alternative to peace looked like. The discussions went late into the night. Finally, they reached an agreement. The Empire would transition to a voluntary federation over the next 5 years. Subject species would be granted autonomy. In return, Earth would provide technology, training, and support. Trade routes would be established. Cultural exchanges would begin. And most importantly, both sides agreed to form a mutual defense pact. There will be resistance, the Emperor warned. Not everyone will accept these changes. Change is never easy, Sora agreed. But it is necessary, and we will face the challenges together. They drafted the treaty that night. It would be called the Accord of New Beginnings. As dawn broke over the throne world, Ambassador Sora and Emperor On signed the document. Humans and former enemies, now partners, stood with watching the sunrise. We came here by accident. Now look what's happening. Smiled. Maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe this was always meant to happen. Maybe. Either way, we have a lot of work ahead of us. At least we'll do it together. Commander nodded. The war that never should have started was over. The peace that would change everything was just beginning. And somewhere in the vast galaxy, other species were watching and wondering what this new alliance between humans and would mean for them. The answer, they would soon discover, was hope. 6 months had passed since the signing of the Accord of New Beginnings. The galaxy was changing in ways no one had imagined. Ambassador Sora stood in the newly constructed Coalition Hall on a neutral world called Haven. The building was beautiful, designed by both human and architects. It represented something new, cooperation instead of conquest. The day was important. Today, 50 different species would gather to formally establish the Galactic Coalition. Some were former subjects of the Empire, finally free. Others were independent species who saw the value in unity. All of them came because they had heard what happened when humans met. Emperor On arrived with his delegation. He looked different now. He no longer wore his war armor. Instead, he dressed in simple robes of state. The change was symbolic. The Emperor was becoming a statesman rather than a conqueror. Ambassador Sora, he greeted her warmly. Are we ready? I believe so. This is a historic day. They entered the grand hall together. Representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber. Some were familiar humanoid forms. Others were completely alien. Beings of energy, creatures that floated in methane atmospheres, hive minds speaking with one voice. The diversity was breathtaking. Admiral, promoted after his successful handling of first contact, stood with the human delegation. Beside him was, who had taken on a new role as liaison officer between humans and, was there too, now head of coalition security. Their journey from explorers to diplomats had been unexpected, but they had adapted well. Captain arrived from Earth with a fleet of science vessels. She was leading the technology exchange program. The medical advances alone had saved thousands of lives already. Doctors were learning human techniques. Human engineers were studying gravitational technology. Both sides benefited. Sora stepped up to the central podium. Her voice was amplified throughout the hall and broadcast to millions of worlds across the galaxy. Friends, allies, partners. 6 months ago, a human ship stumbled into space by accident. What could have become a terrible war instead became an opportunity for peace. Today, we formalize that peace. Today, we create something that has never existed before, a true coalition of equals. She gestured to the treaty displayed behind her. This is the Coalition Charter. It guarantees the sovereignty of every member species. It establishes free trade and open borders. It creates a mutual defense pact. But most importantly, it declares that we are stronger together than we could ever be apart. Emperor on step forward. For 3,000 years my people ruled through fear. We conquered because we could. We dominated because we thought it made us strong. We were wrong. True strength comes from friendship. True power comes from cooperation. The empire is no more. In its place stands the Federation, and we are proud to be founding members of this coalition. There was applause from the assembled delegates. It was not universal. Some species were still suspicious. Some were still bitter about their loss of empire, but most saw the hope in what was being built. One by one, the representatives came forward to sign the charter. The ceremony took hours. Each species added their mark, their signature, their commitment to this new vision of the galaxy. When it was done, Sora looked out at the crowd. The coalition is born. Let us build a future worthy of it. The work began immediately. Coalition committees formed to handle trade, defense, and cultural exchange. Found himself incredibly busy, coordinating between dozens of species who all had different customs, languages, and needs. I went from navigating space to navigating politics, he joked to one evening. I'm not sure which is harder. How are the integration programs going? Better than expected. We have human students learning on worlds, engineers training on Earth, 20 other species participating in exchanges. It's chaotic but wonderful. Admiral had his own challenges. As head of coalition defense, he was building a unified military from dozens of different species. Each had their own tactics, technologies, and traditions. Making them work together was like solving an impossible puzzle. But there were successes. Joint patrol squadrons now protected the major trade routes. Human ships flew alongside vessels, and both sides learned from each other. Human precision combined with experience created something better than either could achieve alone. Work was perhaps the most visible. The medical breakthroughs shared by humans had already saved countless lives. A plague that had ravaged one species for generations was cured within weeks. Genetic therapies developed by scientists, enhanced by human knowledge, were helping children born with terrible conditions. This is why we explore, said during a presentation to the Coalition Science Council. Not to conquer or exploit, but to learn and help. Every species here has something unique to offer. Together, we can solve problems that would be impossible alone. But not everything was smooth. There were still tensions. A small group of military officers, loyal to the old ways, attempted to sabotage a human colony ship. They were stopped by others who had embraced the new order. The incident showed that change was not easy, but it also showed that most people supported it. Some of the species freed from rule struggled with independence. They had been controlled for so long, they did not know how to govern themselves. The coalition provided support, sending advisors and aid but never taking control. It was a delicate balance. One day received an unexpected visitor. It was the former Grand Admiral. He had resigned his position after the peace treaty, ashamed of his role in the conflict, but had asked him to come. Admiral, thank you for meeting me. The old looked uncomfortable. I do not deserve the title anymore. I am simply now. You are a veteran warrior with decades of experience. The coalition needs people like you. I attacked your people. I tried to destroy you. You followed the orders of your emperor and the beliefs of your time, but times have changed. You can change with them. Leaned forward. I want you to head the Coalition Military Academy. Train the next generation of officers from all our species. Teach them what you have learned, including the lessons of war and the value of peace. Was silent for a long moment. You would trust me with such responsibility. Yes, because you know the cost of war better than most. You can teach others to avoid it. The old warrior's eyes grew wet. You honor me, I accept. On Earth was showing a group of young around the planet's first university. They were amazed by everything they saw. One asked him, is it true that humans developed all this technology in isolation? Yes, we didn't know other species existed until recently. How did you become so advanced? Thought about that? I think it's because we never stopped asking questions. We never stopped trying to do better. And we always believed that knowledge should be shared, not hoarded. The old empire kept knowledge secret, the student said quietly. Only the military had access to the best technology. That's the difference between an empire and a coalition. We all rise together. Back on Haven, the Coalition Council was addressing a new challenge. A distress signal had been received from the edge of explored space. An unknown species was under attack by pirates. The Coalition had to decide how to respond. "This is our first real test," Sora said to the assembled council. "How we handle this will define what the Coalition means." "We must help them," said firmly. "That is what we exist for." Emperor On agreed. "Send a joint fleet, humans and together, show the galaxy what the Coalition stands for." Within hours, a rescue fleet was assembled, commanded from the Indomitable with Admiral as his second-in-command. The fleet included ships from 6 different species, all working together. They arrived to find the unknown species under attack by raiders. The Coalition fleet did not hesitate. They jumped in, disabled the pirate ships, and rescued the victims. Not a single shot was fired at living beings. The pirates were captured alive and would face justice. The rescued species was grateful and amazed. "You came to help us. You do not even know us." "That doesn't matter," explained. "The Coalition protects all peaceful species. Would you like to join us?" And they did. They became the 51st member of the Coalition. News of the rescue spread quickly. More species began asking about the Coalition. Some wanted to join. Others wanted to establish trade relations. The galaxy was taking notice. 20 years passed. The changes were remarkable. The Coalition now included over 200 member species. Earth had become a center of learning, with the first galactic university orbiting the planet. Students from across the galaxy came to study there. The former empire was completely transformed. Free democratic governments existed on worlds that had once been enslaved. They themselves had become respected members of the galactic community, known now for their wisdom and experience rather than their military might. Now a grandfather stood on the observation deck of the Indomitable. The ship was old now, a museum piece, but he still visited it sometimes. Joined him, her hair now silver with age. "Remember when we first jumped into this region of space?" she asked. "How could I forget? We were so naive. We thought first contact would be simple. It turned out better than we could have imagined." "Did it?" Looked at her. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we had jumped somewhere else, if we had never met the... We would have met someone else eventually, and maybe it would not have gone so well. Maybe we were lucky. Or maybe," said thoughtfully, "maybe we made our own luck. We chose to show mercy when we could have chosen destruction. We chose to build bridges instead of walls." Smiled, humanity's greatest strength. We always try to do better. On Haven, Ambassador Sora, now very old but still active, was giving a speech to a new generation of diplomats. Sat in the audience, now Ambassador, having followed in Sora's footsteps. "The Coalition started because 2 species chose peace over war," Sora told them. "But it continues because all of us every day make that same choice. Peace is not a single decision. It is thousands of small decisions made by ordinary people to treat each other with respect and kindness." After the speech, a young human student approached her. "Ambassador, do you think the Coalition will last? Will peace really endure?" Sora looked at the student with wise eyes. "That depends on people like you. We built the foundation. Your generation must maintain it and make it stronger. Every generation must choose peace again." "That seems hard." "It is hard, but it is worth it. Look around you." She gestured at the diverse crowd of students and diplomats. 100 species working together, learning from each other. 50 years ago, this was impossible. Today, it is normal. That is the power of choosing peace. Emperor On had passed away years ago, but his legacy lived on. His successor, chosen by democratic election rather than bloodline, continued the policies of cooperation and friendship. The people had grown to love their new freedom and would never return to the old ways. Still working in medical research despite her age, made one final breakthrough. Using a combination of human and technology, enhanced by contributions from 12 other species, her team developed a treatment that could repair damaged DNA. It would extend and eliminate countless genetic diseases across the galaxy. "This is the ultimate proof," she said at the unveiling. "When we work together, we can accomplish miracles." And so the galaxy entered a new era. An era of cooperation and discovery. An era where former enemies became friends. An era that began because one human warship appeared unexpectedly in the wrong place at the wrong time and chose mercy over vengeance. The Indomitable was eventually retired and placed in a museum on Haven. People from across the galaxy came to see it. The ship that started a war that became a peace. The ship that changed everything. And on its bridge a plaque was placed with simple words. "We came in peace. We offered friendship. We chose mercy, and the galaxy was better for it."